Yes, I was a student here in the late 70s, 77 to 81, and I gave my first public reading, I think it was in Winters College, as part of a poetry workshop that I did with Eli Mandel in 1980-81. And this university has a lot of memories for me, and it was a place that was truly formative for me in so many ways. I arrived here a callow farm boy and left an educated man. And I think every novel I have written since then had its origins in some way in the 4 years I spent at York University, through what I learned about the importance of myth in storytelling, through the writers who I read, through the workshops I did, including one that I started with W. Mitchell in my first year here and was asked to leave after the first 3 weeks with the assurance that I would never be a writer. And yet, to this day, I still think almost every day of the things that I learned in those 3 weeks that I lasted in that workshop. So I still owe a tremendous debt to W. Mitchell for what I learned from him. As Martin said, I could name easily a half a dozen professors who I had during those years who were important to me in crucial ways, who encouraged me, who opened my mind, who showed me things, who taught me to think, and who really laid the groundwork for my imagination, for the shape that my mind has had ever since. In some ways, I'm not sure I've had an original idea since then. I've just been building on what I learned in those years. I can remember reading several years ago about a study that looked at Nobel laureates in the sciences and found that almost every one of them had had their central insight by the age of 27. So that by that age, that's the magical age really of the brain, when you're really sort of laying down the material that's going to last you a lifetime. And I could not have been served better than to have a place like York as the institution that did that for me. And I've been eternally grateful to it for that. Some time has passed since then. In some ways, the world we're in now is quite different than the one I lived in when I was an undergrad. But I think in many ways it is still quite the same, particularly for writers. Nowadays, writers like to complain about how the landscape is always changing, how uncertain it is, how nobody's reading literary fiction, how hard it is to get published. In the 70s, everyone complained about how the landscape was always changing, how hard it was to get published, how no one was reading literary fiction. And what a tough slog it was to be a writer. And yet, writing has persisted. The last I checked, Homer was still in print, Dante was still in print, Shakespeare is still hot. A new movie comes out every few years. Jane Austen is still hot. It's probably, in some ways, the best time in the history of the planet to be a writer. There are more people reading books now and able to read books now and able to read books at a complex level than has ever been the case in the history of humankind. And there's more need now for writers, I think, than has ever been the case. There's more need for what writers do, and particularly writers of fiction and anyone who translates the world creatively, whether it be through fiction or through film or through drama or through poetry, than has ever been the case, because the world is so much more complex now than has ever been the case. And I think literature remains perhaps the one branch of knowledge, and I think we can call it a branch of knowledge, that is able to synthesize the complexity of human experience in a way that makes it meaningful for us, and in a way that makes us understand that complexity. There is no other branch that is as synthetic and as integrating as literature, and I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. So to all of you in this room who have made literature your calling, I think there can be no higher one. And however hard the road may seem and however hard it may get, you can remember that there is a very large, committed group of people out there, both writers and the readers of writers, who need you to carry on. So congratulations to all of today's winners, and congratulations to all of you who in some way have made writing your life. Thank you.